Welcome back, everyone, and thank you so much for staying with Politics Tonight. Some weeks ago, President Tinubu's Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, announced that President Bola Tinubu has outlined plans to rejig Nigeria's security architecture, with plans to establish specialized police units for marine, solid mineral, and forest security. In a message shared on X, Onanuga said the president expressed this during a meeting in Abuja with governors of the APC. In that meeting, the president stressed the need for enhanced forest guards equipped with modern technology and weapons to bolster security measures. Tonight, let's speak with Isaac Abrak, a journalist and chairman Northern Christian Youth Professionals on Plateau insecurity and the Clamour for forest guard. Mr. Abrak, thank you so much for joining us on Politics Tonight. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Jumoke, for having me.
Great. Thank you for joining us. Now, let's start with your group's increased agitation for the recruitment of forest guards. As the chairman, you're saying it is a viable option to checkmate random attacks on villages. I'd like you to talk to us about this clamor and the impact it would have on national security.
Yes, basically, we're here today to talk on a security issue. In fulfillment of the promise that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu made to Nigerians, that he's going to curb insecurity in Nigeria. And also, he mentioned that in his manifesto, that he is going to revitalize the forest guard and give them the core mandate to monitor the forests and identify criminals and violent groups and get rid of them. So my group, the Northern Christian Youth Professionals, launched our campaign. We hit our campaign on that, going around the northern states, telling our people this is what the president was going to do for us. And people, thank God, they appreciated it and they voted for us. And Bola Ahmed Tinubu is president today. We also want to thank President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for keeping his promise, because immediately he was sworn in, we started reminding him. But of course, we knew that there were a lot of economic issues that were thrown up given the fuel subsidy withdrawal. So we decided to, just calm down a bit on that call. But during the Christmas period, when the Plateau killings erupted again, we felt that the president needs to give us this forest guard now. And to God be the glory, the president has heed to our call and he's granting us the forest guard. Now, why do we need the forest guard? It is clear that all efforts that have been thrown in by our armed forces, by various governments, this problem has continued to persevere. It has almost defied all solutions. And as such, it is important that we now begin to think outside the box and do new things. So, the revitalization of the forest guard and recruiting people who live in rural areas that are close to these forests will serve as a key way to be able to locate these people inside the forest, because these people have a vast and a deep understanding of the forest. So much more than our forces. It's been happening. I, as a journalist, have spoken several times with troops who are in the field, and they will explain to you the challenges they have, in the forest. So as such, we want Mr. President to recruit youth from the forest communities into this forest guard. And I assure you, Jomoke, and all Nigerians listening to me, you are going to see a remarkable change, in the apprehension and the arrest of all these violent groups that have hijacked our forests, not just in the north, but all over Nigeria.
Absolutely. And I also find it very interesting, Mr. Abrak, that you've also arrived at the number of personnel needed for this task. You're advocating for 185,000 young Nigerians. How did you arrive at this number?
Yes, we get our cue, from Maiduguri, Borno State. Back in 2012, when Boko Haram had sought so much into Maiduguri and were charging even towards the government house, so much at that time that, if you remember then, our then President Goodluck Jonathan, declared a state of emergency. At that time, our Vice President, His Excellency Senator Kashim Shettima, was the governor of Borno State. What did he do? In a very brilliant manner, he liaised with the NSA then, and they initiated the civilian JTF. These boys used their deep knowledge, of the terrain of Maiduguri, and collaborated with the military. In a very short while, Boko Haram were arrested, and they were forced to flee the city and forced to remain in Sambisa forest. How many civilian JTF did Kashim Shettima recruited? 20,000. So we now say, if Kashim Shettima took 20,000, for just a state, and also some worked in Yobe and some parts of Adama, if we took 20,000 people, young people from Borno State, one state, then we considered the economic situation in Nigeria. So we felt that 5,000 from each state, including the FCT, that makes 185 personnel, would be appropriate. And going forward, if you recruit 185,000 Nigerians, and you take, let's say, 100,000 of them are from the rural areas, you have already economically empowered those communities. And when you empower rural dwellers, you are basically empowering agriculture. So these same boys, these same youths from Bokos, for instance, or from Mongu local government, for instance, or from Fadi and Bokut local government, or Farman, where I come from, for instance, these boys will be able to secure the forests and also invest some of their monies into the farms. And this Clamour, these issues that we are having about this scarcity in food would have been dealt with. I got a call today from one of my veteran journalists, quite very older than me in the profession. He was telling me, Isaac, you need to understand that the issue about this food scarcity is as a result because our people are afraid of going to the farms. People now just farms around their backyard. You cannot farm more than if you want to farm more than 10,000 hectares of land. You need to go outside of your immediate community. You need to go to the forest.
But people now. Sambisa Forest, for example, is about the size of Belgium and spreads across 4 states, extending into bordering Cameroon, Niger, and Chad. With the size of Sambisa Forest alone, plus other forests, you think the number you're advocating will be enough?
Well, whatever you are doing, you have to consider, the economic situation of the country. And remember, the forest guard is not going to function all on its own. It's going to liaise and work with the armed forces like the military and the police. Most of what they will be doing is providing intelligence. So I think 5,000, we think that 5,000 is substantial enough to get the job done, while part of fundings also will go to our military people and also the police. I am convinced that it can do the job.
Right. Just like you mentioned, and very convincing. This forest guard will help provide intelligence about their own people who are collaborating with Fulani kidnappers. But don't you think this is better manned by state governments rather than the federal government?
That is a very important question. Our concerns, for the forest guard to be managed by the state is that we need to have uniformity of strength and commitment so that the flow of intelligence can be credible. If, for instance, you have in state B and state C very much committed, and state A is not so much committed, these bandits will basically be roaming around to hide in the forest of state A. And from there, they will launch attacks to all these states and come back to hide here. So in order to avoid this, it's better for us to have, this is a suggestion. Mr. President knows best what to do. He also has his vice president who initiated the civilian JTF, coupled with the chief of defense staff and the NSA and also the other security chiefs. They, I believe, would know better. This is a recommendation to us. We feel that it should be managed by federal government so that we know that the level of commitment of all the states' command is at par, is on the same level. And we know that anytime intelligence is coming or information is coming, we know that it is credible. We don't want a situation whereby some states are committed and some states are not committed, and then we begin to have the system wobble. Remember, the bandits are moving all around the nation through the forest. They don't care wherever it is. Sometimes they move into some states. They don't even know that they are in those states, but they are already in those states. So therefore, for us to have a complete and surmount, the security in the forest, we, the Northern Christian Youth Professionals, would like to tell Mr. President, let it be a national body.
But what exactly are your fears about this force being managed by the state government?
Commitment. Other people have also called me to say that there is a fear that some state governments can politicize it, use it for their own political purpose. And the moment we have community people, because the forest guard is now going to be, if Mr. President, revitalize it, is now going to be the last stand, in combating these people, because they are more closer to them. Now, and if we have a system whereby some states politicize their own, it's going to affect, the whole body. I give you, for instance now, although this will have to be with international borders. One of the issues that we've had in combating Boko Haram, especially in the early days, in the early years, between 2009 to 2013, 2014, when their activities were very high, was because when our military go after these people, they will run across the border and go and hide in the borders across Niger, Chad, and Cameroon. And from there, they sneak in to launch attack to us. So it was very difficult for us to quickly to totally exterminate them. If not, these people would have been exterminated. I know that for a fact. So we are also afraid of this. If we have a weak link in the states, it is going to be a problem, for us to actually manage. Even though being in the state means that it's going to have more of grassroots, connection. The people are going to get, the governors or the state governments are going to interact more with these forest guards, but it can still be achieved. It is still community people that are going to be doing this job.
Right, so let's talk about equipping the force. I remember when the conversation around the establishment of forest guards started. Chief Forest Ranger, that's in Kaduna State's Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources, Hamisu Suleiman, had talked about how forest guards need to be protected before forests can be secured. So speaking about technical support, how best can they be equipped?
First, I'd like to speak first about the moral support, the moral training, which is the moral support. First, before I go to the technical, one most important thing that the forest guard must be trained on and must be inculcated into them is the spirit of nationalism, citizenship, and patriotism. They must understand that. What they are doing is to unite Nigeria, is to bring peace to Nigeria. Because in part of our recommendations is that, for instance, if you go to Zango Katav local government now and you are recruiting the forest guard, we are recommending that we do that through our traditional chiefs. Now, the traditional chiefs who are there know who the hunters are, know those citizens that are credible, that are disciplined, that are not corrupt, So, and they would liaise with the Fulani Ardos in those communities and say, okay, Fulani Ardo, give me so number of people. You farmer community, give me so number of people. And we put them together as a team and train them on nationalism for them to understand that right now they are as one unit. They should go into this forest, and secure it. They must also be inculcated with discipline, regimental discipline. Then technically, of course, very, very important. We want this forest guard, to have a modern outlook, to be equipped with the modern state-of-the-art technologies. We recommend that they should have night visual goggles, those kind of goggles that you put on, and even in the dark you can still see. We also suggest that the use of drones. Drones that can hide even in the cloud and pick out whatever movement, is going on. Definitely, there should be another unit that will work with the Nigerian Air Force, flying around, to ensure that these forests are properly monitored. Again, there needs to be the use of ammunition. And this definitely will leave this part to the experts, and that is our armed forces. We also think that they should be given weapons that are proportionate to the kind of job that they will be doing. We shouldn't give them sophisticated weapons that can end up, maybe end up in the hands of the terrorists at the end of the day. We shouldn't give them weapons that at the end of the day will make them too happy and they get overexcited and overuse it, and we have situations that we do not want. So we recommend that proportionate ammunitions that we give that will be proportionate to the kind of job that they'll be doing. Moreover, basically their job will be to provide intelligence.
Right, but talking about weapons, should there be a limit to the kinds of weapons needed for this task? I'm asking this question because Southwest Security Network, Amoteco, continues to urge the federal government to provide sophisticated weapons equivalent to what these guys carry.
We do not subscribe to sophisticated weapons to be given to the forest guard. Why Amoteco, I believe they are demanding for this is that the heat, the pressure, of other bandits fleeing from where they have been, pounded on by the military, fleeing to their region is the reason why they are making these demands. But if all of the states are secured, that pressure is not going to be so much on them,
Right.
So, we don't subscribe that sophisticated weapons should be given to the forest guards. Sophisticated weapons should be in the hands of the people that are most qualified, professionally trained, to do that, and that is the Nigerian Armed Forces.
Right, so, two more issues before we move on to other matters. Nigeria Hunters and Forest Security Service Bill has been passed by the Senate and the House of Reps. It's now waiting for the president's assent. How important is it that the president assents to this now?
Very, very, very important. I told you, Jumoke, that we renewed our call for the forest guard because of what we saw in Plateau State. And you can see, since the attack in Plateau State, it moved to Abuja. We have been battling, with kidnapping. We want to use this opportunity to express our gratitude, to the Nigerian police force for all the job that they have been doing. They've been able to curtail arrest, and we appreciate that. But you also saw that it spread down to Kwara State in Ekiti, where a monarch was killed and some school pupils were kidnapped. It moved to Edo State, where they hijacked a police checking point and took over the checking point. So you see that this situation just continues to increase. As our military are grappling it, it becomes elusive. So therefore, this is the time for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Please, Mr. President, we appeal to you. Sign that bill into law. Let us have the Nigerian Hunters and Forest Guard Security Service. I really do not know if Mr. President plans, to hybrid it, to bring it into one as the Forest Guard. I don't know what his plans are regarding that, but I know that the Nigerian Hunters and Forest Security Service is also pursuing the same goal, just as Mr. President in his renewed hope Forest Guard. So it is a yes, and we call Mr. President to expedite action, on signing it into law. We need everything that we can do to get these criminals out of our forests.
Yeah, let's talk about funding. I mean, amidst the dwindling federal earnings, establishing a new agency when existing ones could be retooled to guard forest lands. Don't you think this would take a great toll on federal government revenue?
We fell in love with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu when he was in Lagos, when he was Lagos State Governor. If you can recall back, you know what he did with the Lagos State IGR. We believe that our president has the capacity to source the required funds for this forest guard because he knows how important it is. It is not a mistake that he puts it in his renewed hope action plan. It is not a mistake. It was very purposeful. So it's something that he has already planned for it, and we know that he's going to source for it. We can also, some people have suggested that we can look into the security votes, that are going, to the state governments, to the state governors. Can we do some deductions there, do some subtraction and some additions there to see if we can get some money there? Can we also look elsewhere into even some of the votes that even goes to some of the armed forces to see can we get some money there and see what we can do? Because this is a very important part of security. What this forest guard is going to achieve, it is going to be wonderful, because going back to Maiduguri, if it is not because of the collaboration of the civilian joint task force, only God knows if the state government house would have fallen to the Boko Haram. But thank God to the ingenuity of our vice president. And I like to say here, Nigerians have not really commended Vice President Kashim Shettima about how he managed the Boko Haram insurgency. I was a journalist actively involved at those periods. I know the intensity of Boko Haram then. And the vice president ensured never left his state, ensured he remained there, ensured that the civilian JTF were paid as on when due, their kids were well provided, their families were all taken care of, and that was how we were able to rid those criminals out of Maiduguri. So I'm saying that both the president and the vice president, they have the capacity. They will source for these monies. The governors should collaborate with the president, to source these funds and fund this the forest guard.
Fantastic. Mr. Abrak, let's go on a break, and when we come back, we'll be able to talk about Plateau State. This is Politics Tonight. We go on a break, and I will be right back.